Hello everyone, Ollie here from ℽ𝕧𝕚𝕚 and welcome back to my review series for the DC EU or DC Extended Universe. I reviewed Man of Steel a few days ago, so if you're curious on what my feelings are on Man of Steel, I mean I would highly recommend you do, because obviously I'm going to be talking about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, aka the director's cut, in this video. So because obviously this film takes place right after Man of Steel, it would be really good for you guys to know what my up-to-date thoughts are on the previous film, and then obviously come back and watch this, and then yeah, go from there. So but obviously if you already have watched my review on Man of Steel, thank you very much, I appreciate it. But yeah, now you can experience my thoughts on the next film. As I've already said, is Batman v Superman. So yeah, so the Ultimate Edition, as I literally just stated, in particular I've decided to obviously watch this version of the film because it is technically the one to watch, because it is Zack Snyder. Obviously Zack Snyder previously directed Man of Steel, for people that don't know, and he continued on ahead and directed Batman v Superman, which is again the follow-up to Man of Steel. So there was a theatrical cut that came out, obviously when it came out, obviously in theaters back in 2016, and it wasn't received very well. I'll quickly go into the overview of the kind of the release of it, but yeah, the theatrical cut of the film wasn't very well received because it was very messy in terms of its story and the structure of the film. So, and then obviously not long after, I think it was either not long after or not long before it came out, Zack Snyder or Warner Brothers announced that there was going to be a director's cut that would come out when it comes out digitally and also on physical release. And then obviously that later on obviously became the Ultimate Edition of the film, aka the director's cut. So and that obviously added on about another half hour of footage, which is a lot when you think about it. And since then, obviously, BVS has become, which is obviously short for Batman v Superman, BVS has become a kind of a cult classic in the, I guess, in the superhero fandom, or the DC fandom at least, especially to Snyder fans as well. So this is a weird one for me. So BVS, it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me, and obviously when I talk more about my feelings on the film, you'll know that it's one of those films. While I am aware of how, you know, even though the Ultimate Edition is structurally more in place, in the sense obviously that it covers a lot of things that were missing in the theatrical cut, it is still regarded as still a bit, you know, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect film by any means. So that's what I'm just trying to say, is that while I know it's not a perfect film, and to still some people who've watched the film, both cuts of the film, aren't still happy with the outcome of either version of the film. So and while, like I said, I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of my feelings on the film, I just thought I'd say that, yeah, while I'm aware of the problems that this film has, I still have a little bit of fun with it. So yeah, so the same thing I did with my Man of Steel review. Again, if you haven't seen that review, I'll just quickly let you know that the way I structured that review, and the ones that I will be doing with the other DCEU film reviews, I go through my positives first, then I go through my mixed, and then my negative aspects. Obviously these are just my own personal opinion, so yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first positive I can give for this film is the opening scene, obviously, which is, I mean, obviously spoilers, of course. If you haven't watched the film, I would highly advise you go watch the film and then come back and watch this. But you know, I'm not your mum, so or your dad. So I'm not gonna, I'm gonna force you to do anything that you don't want to do. But if you want to watch the film, go watch it and then come back. But if you don't care, by all means, obviously continue on. But yeah, the opening scene, of course, is the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Obviously, this film obviously introduces Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, and some people are a bit like, not again with the same death, because obviously the previous iteration of Batman we had obviously with the Dark Knight trilogy, not long before. Obviously Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and obviously in Batman Begins, obviously we saw the other iteration of the Bruce Wayne's parents' death, or deaths, and people are like, oh god, are you going to do it again? But the way they executed the deaths was actually quite cool. It might be my favourite now, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch the other iterations, but as of right now, it might be my favourite. Just again, the execution of, no pun intended, the execution of their deaths, with the same kind of gangster, robber, whatever, obviously holding the gun, cocking it, and then basically shooting them in slow motion, which Zack Snyder, for people that don't know, Zack Snyder, one of his he's very well known for his slow motion in a lot of his films, and I would honestly say, while a lot of some of the slow motion stuff in each of his films are sometimes a bit over the top, I do think it is I think it's executed probably really well in BVS, I think, especially in this opening scene. It's not the only slow motion shots that we have in the film. I mean, there's some a little bit later on, but this is the first, and yeah, I really like it. Again, just the gun cocking with the slow motion, the effects, and the music, especially. We'll get to the music in a second, but yeah, the opening scene, the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne, very good. And then having, Bruce's inaudible scream, really effective. And yeah, and obviously his speech, obviously adult Bruce saying, obviously, this is obviously, when, because we have a kind of interchanging cuts between the funeral of Thomas and Martha Wayne, and also the actual, well, say the alleyway. It's the scene where they get killed. So you got the scene where they get killed, and also the scene of the funeral, and then obviously Bruce runs off, and obviously falls into the well, like obviously like Batman Begins, and I'm sure I can't remember the other iterations, but from memory, obviously Batman Begins is the only other iteration that I can remember where he actually falls down a well, and obviously got the bats coming at him, and he's all scared, and then all of a sudden, obviously they kind of bring him up, lift him up to the surface. Obviously that didn't happen. It was just kind of metaphorical, which is really cool. But yeah, the bat's holding him up and then saying, I think he quotes. But yeah, I'll put a quick clip of obviously the scene where obviously he gets lifted up by the bats, and obviously he says his little quote.
In the dream, they took me to the light. A beautiful lie.
But yeah, really great opening scene. A great first scene for the film, in my opinion. Now, my next positive is literally, obviously, this is, again, like I said, this is the follow-up to Man of Steel, and it literally, after obviously the opening scene with Martha and Thomas Wayne, and then obviously Bruce falling down the well, you obviously get the transition into the climactic scene in Man of Steel with Metropolis, the destruction of Metropolis, and the way they put this into Bruce's perspective, the fact that he was there while it was happening, it was really cool. And him trying to help people, and basically try and get, because I think the reason why he's there, I mean, he was initially there to go to, because one of his, I think, Wayne Enterprises, at least one of the buildings is in Metropolis, and he was going there, and then obviously the destruction was happening, and then obviously he was driving towards the building to obviously try and get everybody out, and then, obviously after the whole building collapsed, well, some of the other buildings were collapsing, obviously, there were these children combined, and obviously one of them was kind of a bit not loopy, but obviously trying to put him back in place, like, oh, come on, go over here. So it's really cool the way that they kind of, in this bit, they kind of humanize him. Obviously he's a human, obviously, but throughout the rest of the film we see him as obviously the Caped Crusader, but we'll get to that. So it was really cool how they placed us in his perspective during the events of obviously the end of Man of Steel, and having that in there. So yeah, really cool. And then moving on to something that I just briefly mentioned in the opening scene, which is the the score, most particularly the Beautiful Lie track. It's just a really beautiful, literally a beautiful track. I really like it. It's really like really sentimental, and just it's again, I'm probably going to say this word a lot, but effective. It's really cool. I don't have much else to say on that, but yeah, the score I really like. The other tracks are good, but the one in particular that is the most memorable to me is the Beautiful Lie track, which again is in the opening scene. So I think it's kind of a bit placed in some other parts of the film, but predominantly in the opening scene. But yeah, I love that track, and I mean, I like the score in general. I think it's pretty good. Next, Batman's first appearance, when they introduced Ben Affleck's Batman. Now, Ben Affleck's Batman, while he isn't my favourite iteration of Batman, or Bruce Wayne, he is definitely in my top 3, I'd say. I haven't seen every iteration of Batman yet in films, or in the films, all Batman films, but I'd say he's probably my top 3. I mean, there's some things about him which we'll get to in my negatives, but there's some things that I'm not very happy with, which, I mean, if you watch the film, you might already know what it is, but again, I'll get to it. But the good things about his Batman and Bruce Wayne are very visible here throughout the film. I think it's Bruce Wayne is very Bruce Wayne, but he is a much older Bruce Wayne, from what I gathered from watching some interviews with Ben Affleck, and also some interviews with Zack Snyder, saying that he's a much older, jaded version of Batman, and particularly Bruce Wayne.
If Zack came to me and said, I want you to do this Batman, and I said, I don't think I'm really right for this, the young guy who's avenging his parents' death and goes and puts on a cowl and fights super villains, maybe, at one time, but he said, no, that's not it. He's completely broken down. He's older. He's fallen apart. He's on the verge of moral bankruptcy. You're perfect for it.
And it really worked. I think it did for the most part. So yeah, he's in my top 3. Batman, and Bruce Wayne. I'd say he's very good. But yeah, Batman, as I was just going to say, his first appearance it's very much like a horror film. The way that they encapsulate him, because obviously we've seen Bruce Wayne in the beginning of the film, very young, and then obviously when he's much older in Metropolis at the end of Man of Steel, or the event of Man of Steel, and then there's a cut to where there's this he's in a crime scene basically, and he's basically there to basically arrest him, but we don't see him yet. We're in the perspective of these 2 police officers, or cops, should I say, in this situation. Yeah, so we're in their hands, and then basically there's this one cop in particular. He kind of goes up because there's this building, and then in the basement there's these like girls, and I think it's like human trafficking, I think it was, with what those people were doing. And then one of the cops goes upstairs because they heard a noise, and basically it's one of the, I think it was like the main person who was trapping those girls in the basement, and basically he's tied to a radiator, and you can see one of the things that this situation Batman does is he brands them, which is the thing that happens. And at the corner of the cop's eye, the music kicks in, a scary, nasally kind of high-pitched, just horror music. It's just crazy. It's another great track in the film. And then you see in the corner of his eye, you see like a blurred image of Batman. Like it slowly pans, and we see him in the corner again, unfocused initially, and then he's just like, oh shit. And it's really good. It's really good scene. I love that. And then obviously when he spots him, he obviously kind of flies away, and then obviously he tries to shoot in the cop, and then he always shoots his other mate, and he's just like, Christ!
Christ!
But yeah, I really like that scene. It's really good. I don't think I have any negatives on that side. But again, we'll get to the negatives later on. But yeah, again, a great first few scenes in the film, I must say. It's really good. So yeah, that's the opening scene. Really like that. The way they showed Batman to be this kind of like, again, he obviously he's a vigilante, so he, they kind of portray him initially as like this kind of this monster, this horror, this yeah, he's like a creature. He's the creature of the night. he's a bat. So yeah, really good. So moving on to my next positive, Alfred, Jeremy Irons, Alfred. I like him. I mean, it's not like the traditional Alfred. He doesn't come in like, "Hello, sir, would you like some tea?" He doesn't have like a tray with like a pot of tea or anything. He's just he actually helps make Bruce's gadgets and weapons and stuff. It's actually really cool, and all, even like the Batmobile and everything, and the glider or whatever you want to call it. It's really cool. Like, I don't know if there's any other iteration, and not from memory, where Alfred actually helps create his gadgets and like his armor and everything. It's really cool, and that's what I really like about this version. But also I like his kind of witty remarks and stuff in the film as well. Like he's a great Alfred. I think he's really good. Obviously we get him again in a couple of other DC films, but yeah, I think he was really good. I'd say he's again one of my favorite Alfreds as well. Yeah, I think that's really about it, really, for Alfred. But yeah, great. And my final positive, which is widely regarded to Batman v Superman fans, is the warehouse fight. What the hell was I talking about? I missed my words there. I was meant to say that in Batman v Superman, the most popular or the most iconic scene in the film is the warehouse scene. Okay, now how hard is that? Obviously this is after the big fight with Batman and Superman, which we'll get to later on in the video. But after the whole fight and everything, and obviously Batman saving Martha, obviously who's trapped in the warehouse, you have that great fight scene with all the armed men, and then he comes through the floor, and when we think he's coming through the door, but no, comes through the floorboards, and then it kicks ass, and it's brilliant, like the choreography and everything. And I mean, a couple of bits in the fight, which again is an element that we'll get to in my negatives, I'm not really a fan of, but yeah. But mostly the warehouse fight is really, really good. I'm really impressed by it, and it's just another one of those great scenes to revisit. Whether it's one you just watch on YouTube, or maybe when you rewatch the film, you're like, "Oh my god, I can't wait for this scene! It's great." And yeah, that's how I feel about the warehouse fight scene. So yeah, that's definitely a big positive on the film. So yeah, that's my positives. Okay, so moving on to my mixed. The first one being going back to obviously the destruction of Metropolis scene. Now this is another one of those infamous scenes in the film where people get very frustrated by it, and just also get quite confused of why they did this. So there's a character again in the scene of the destruction of Metropolis where basically it's one of Bruce's employees called Jack, and he basically again, he's obviously in the building when obviously all this destruction is going on, and basically in the end he doesn't actually evacuate himself. Obviously he goes to everyone and says, "All right guys, we need to get out." I mean, a bit late, but he also tells all the other employees to get out and everything. And by the time almost Bruce is there, because obviously he's driving to the building, going to be trying to save everyone, but obviously he's on the phone to Jack, and he's like, "Jack, get out of the building," and everything. And then at one point, the call ends, I think, and then obviously he can't get a hold of him. Obviously Bruce to Jack, and then Jack decides to evacuate, and he then just starts praying or whatever he does. And I'm just like, what? Like, any sane human being would do that. But then again, like, there's some people who, I don't know, this is what's in my mix and not so much in my negatives, because I kind of, like, there are people out there that maybe I don't know, maybe there's some people, I mean it is a character, but maybe Zach or whoever decided to, or the screenwriters decided to make this character, maybe this person, maybe Jack, this character, maybe he was at his wit's end, maybe when he realised that this is, this is, or pretty much could be the end for him, he was like, you know what, I think this is it for me. I think, which sounds horrific to say, but that some people do think like that. That maybe because of some drastic things that happened in their life, and maybe they do want to just self-delete, as I'd like to say. It's the better way of saying it. But I don't know if that is the case. Then I think that's okay. Like, I mean, I get that, but if it was just one of those things where characters get killed off because it's in a weird circumstance, not in a weird circumstance, but I don't know, like it's just a weird situation to be in, like, because any person usually would go, I don't know, they'd probably evacuate, because it's like, there's a good chance of them surviving. But obviously Jack doesn't, and he stays behind and starts praying, and then obviously the building falls down or collapses, whatever, and he dies. I mean, we don't see him in the aftermath, but it's clearly stated that he dies. But yeah, that's my first mixed element of the film, but that's why it's in my mix, not my negatives. So we're just going to walk past that. So we're going to move on to my second mixed aspect, this is probably the biggest infamous scene of the film, which is the Martha scene, where basically Batman is basically winning in the one main fight. There's only one fight, because in some versus films like Godzilla versus Kong, there's like two. I think there was like 2 or 3 fight sequences between them. Whereas with Batman v Superman, it's just one. Which we'll get to that. But the one fight they have, obviously, kind of near the ending of the third act, probably coming into the third act. Batman's winning, and obviously he's got the kryptonite spear, and he's about to plunge it into Superman's heart. And then Superman or Clark spears out. I can't remember the first thing he says, but obviously he's saying, "Save Martha!" And obviously, because at that point, before then, obviously Bruce is just, he's not with it. He's literally, he's not with it. So obviously, whatever Clark has been trying to say to him, he's not been able to, receive it very well. So if that makes any sense. But so he Clark says that, and then all of a sudden Bruce is just kind of like, what the fuck? And then obviously he's like, "Why did you say that name?" And it's like, okay. And then obviously Lois is obviously on her way. Obviously, if you've seen the film, I'm just going to skip past it. But obviously Lois comes in and says, "Oh, it's his mother's name." And then obviously he just stops and just, I don't know. And then it almost feels like we missed a few scenes, and then all of a sudden they're kind of good friends. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, no. That doesn't really work for me very well, and I know it doesn't for a lot of other people, but I feel like there should have been more to that. I mean, I do wish there was a better explanation or a different way of, Clark. He could have stopped the whole fight, but obviously that would have, that would have prevented the fight from happening. Obviously, that was the whole purpose of this film. It's Batman v Superman. Obviously, they were bound to fight in this film. So if Clark had stopped Bruce from doing it, it would make more logical sense he did that. But because it's a film and we needed them to fight, that's what happened. So I can kind of forgive it in a way for that, but I kind of wish it was done better. I can't think of another way they could have done it, but other than obviously Clark actually stopping and be like, "Batman, Bruce, whatever, just stop and listen to me." And he did almost at one point, but Bruce was just not with it. He was at his wit's end. He was just like, "No, I'm going to kill him," because he's this alien. He just sees them. He just sees them as this threat to humanity. He wants to kill him so that obviously there's no more threats to Metropolis and Gotham. So he obviously gets to kill them, but he doesn't. So in the end, the Martha scene, some people defend it, some people are probably on my side. Well, quite a lot of people are on my side, but yeah, there are a few people out there that do defend it and say, oh, this and this and this. But I don't know. I'm really mixed on it. I mean, I was kind of debating with myself to put it in my negatives, but I was just like, you know, I'll keep it in my mixed for now, and then maybe later on when I maybe rewatch it or see some more like maybe debriefs in the film, maybe I'll be like, yeah, maybe it could be okay. But at the moment, as of now, it's in my mixed. So the infamous Martha scene, let me know in the comments below what you think. Well, I mean, let me know in the comments below what you think of the entire film, but particularly the Martha scene. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you think it was a good idea for Superman to say the Martha thing, or do you think he should have done something else? Let me know. Anyway, my final mixed aspect of the film, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. Now, a lot of people do not like Jesse Eisenberg's interpretation of Lex Luthor. I'm kind of one of those people. I mean, I do like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor and as a person. Like, he seems really cool and so quirky. He makes me laugh a lot. But for this, it's a bit awkward with Lex Luthor. Now, I'm not very familiar with the Superman comics or DC comics in general, but Superman, because obviously Lex Luthor is a Superman villain, so I don't know too much about him, but I know he's quite intimidating from what I know. And in this film, his interpretation is not the most menacing. he has like these very little subtle intimidating bits, but they're not like fucking, I don't know, Kingpin or whatever. Like, he's not like that kind of menacing. He just, in his own way, he's more quirky than he's menacing, which I guess kind of takes away from the villainous the theme and his I don't know. It's not just him actually. It's not just his performance. It's also his motivations in the film. The reason why he wants Batman and Superman to pin against each other. It's just a bit, yeah. And I get it, because Batman and Superman, Clark and Bruce, they have their own views on each other. Like, obviously, Bruce sees Superman again as like this alien threat who's a threat to humanity, whereas Superman sees Bruce as this bat vigilante who's kind of the same as him in a way, like, but in different circumstances, because obviously, you know, one's a god and one's a man, a human being. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I like that aspect, the fact that obviously, I like that obviously Bruce and Clark want to fight each other because of their disbeliefs on each other, and the fact that they disapprove of each other because of what they do. That aspect I kind of like, but Lex's manipulation, that side of the whole reason why they're fighting, is a bit like, yeah, I don't know about that. It's a bit like, it's a bit wobbly for me. Like, there are a few little bits that I don't mind, but there's a lot that I'm a bit like, yeah, I don't know if I like that. The reasons of why he wants to do it, and then the whole thing, which I'll get to, with Doomsday and everything, him resurrecting. Not resurrecting, but him bringing Doomsday to life and everything. It's just a bit like it. But anyway, so yeah, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex, a bit wavy on him, like his appearance. I think he looks the part, but obviously he has the hair initially, not at the end of the film as he gets it shaved off, but that's the end of the film. So yeah, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. You know, he's not great, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's my final mixed aspect. How long have I been recording for? 11 minutes. Oh god, yeah, we need to move on. So moving on to my negatives. I have a few. So my first one, as I mentioned earlier, obviously I've already mentioned that I really like Ben Affleck's Batman. One of the things I do not like about him is the fact that he uses a gun, which is another element to the film that a lot of people don't like about this interpretation of Batman, because he has a gun and he also kills people. But the thing is, Batman in other films, he kind of does kill people. So Ben Affleck's Batman isn't the only one who kills people, but it's the fact that he uses a gun to not only kill people, but I don't know, it's just weird. I mean, a grapple gun, totally different, but I mean, a gun with loaded bullets, loaded rounds, whatever, I don't know, it's a bit weird. It's it's very unusual for me to see him have a gun, so that's why I don't like it. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. Some people might not mind it, but him having a gun, I'm so used to him having batarangs, and obviously again his grapple gun, and using other little gadgets he has. That's fine. Obviously, if he has a gun with like bombs and obviously like that bomb little things, that's fine. But with bullets, loaded rounds, it's a bit odd to me. So that's my first negative. Moving on to my second negative. Again, it kind of goes on to kind of revolving around the whole thing with Lex Luthor's manipulation. It's kind of the lead up to the fight, the main fight, the reason why we're here, to see Batman and Superman fight together. Like that's the reason why we're here. That's the whole reason why we were sold to this. So I don't like the fact that Bruce, Clark, the fact that he didn't have enough in him to stop him. He should have stopped him more and not done. He should have said more than just, Bruce, you have to listen to me. Lex wants, and then obviously he has the radiation thing happen. And then after that, he should have still kept going. He should have. I don't know enough about Superman, but if I were him, I would have kept saying, stop. I'm not fighting you, even though I have some disbeliefs about you. Like, I don't want to fight you. I don't want this to happen. But again, because of the film and everything, the reason why we're here, they do it anyway. But I don't know. I just feel like Clark should have done more to stop him, and then if there was something else that Batman or Bruce had done to put him over the edge to actually have him fight, then that's a bit different. But I don't think Clark did enough to stop Batman from still wanting to fight him. So yeah, that's another negative of mine. And then also, just briefly mentioning earlier, Doomsday. I don't like how they create Doomsday. Now, I don't know the way they create Doomsday. Obviously, that Lex cut his hand and put his blood onto the corpse of General Zod. Obviously, General Zod being the previous antagonist in Man of Steel. So he has access to all the stuff that was in Man of Steel, like the Kryptonian ship, with obviously also having the corpse of General Zod, and him knowing how to basically bring Doomsday to life, mixing his blood with the corpse of General Zod. I don't know, it's a bit weird, but it's, yeah, I don't know, it's a bit odd. I don't really have much else to expand on that, but it's just a bit weird how he. I mean, I know the computer in the ship told him that stuff, but it was a bit like, is that really what happens in the comics or any other iteration of the Superman films? Let me know in the comments below if you know, and please let me know if they do. Then if they are, then I mean, I might change my mind on that, but as of right now, it didn't work for me. Now, moving on to my final negative. I'm aware that I am probably about half an hour into the video, but I'll probably cut a little bit out. But yeah, so moving on to my final negative. It's a big thing that they set up at the end of the film. I mean, they kind of teased it throughout the film, especially near the end. And it's a thing that happens that's basically, the film teases the Justice League. They tease the other members. Obviously, Wonder Woman makes an appearance in here for a little bit throughout the film, and eventually we get teased that obviously we have Aquaman, Cyborg, the Flash, and obviously Wonder Woman, of course, as well. But obviously we get the physical appearance of Wonder Woman. Obviously, we get the little clips of the other Justice League members, but I don't like the fact that they tease them so soon. This is my main negative, is the fact that they tease the Justice League this early. This point in the DCEU, obviously this is only the second film in this universe, and they're already building up all these events that are going to be happening in the future. Like, I think they should have structured this more throughout other films and not just have this one film where, oh, we're going to tease the whole Justice League and then go from there, because I think Marvel was at its peak and Warner Brothers were like, we need to do what Marvel's doing. Basically, have all the Avengers, obviously our Avengers being obviously Justice League, and have all this set up all in one film, which this overstuffed thing, this is probably the biggest sin of the film, is that they've teased all this stuff in this film, which they shouldn't have. They should have focused on Batman and Superman, mainly Batman, because obviously we obviously mostly at the beginning of the film we see his character, obviously the death of Martha and Thomas Wayne, and then obviously we see him as a character when he's older. That's fine, I really like that, but having all these other members of the Justice League be teased, and then obviously we do get the Justice League film later on, a couple of years later, but I don't know, it's just, it was teased too soon, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people do agree on that, but some people might not mind, or well, minded that, but I think it was a bit too, yeah, but yeah, I think that's my overall thoughts on Batman v Superman. Sorry, it was maybe a bit all over the place, but I think I've spoken enough. I already feel my voice. I feel like I'm already losing my voice, so I think I'm going to be wrapping up here now. But overall, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. It's a watchable film, of course. Like, again, it's a guilty pleasure. Has some great moments in it, whilst there are some elements that are very questionable and just a bit ridiculous. But for me, it's watchable, but it's not one of those films I go back to so often. Every now and again, I might rewatch it, especially certain scenes that I really like that I've already mentioned. But yeah, it has some great stuff, but it also has a lot of things that don't work, in my opinion. So yeah, what would I give this out of 10? I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10, like I did with Man of Steel, but I would say it's a little bit better than Man of Steel in my opinion. That might be a hot take, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, yeah, so 6 out of 10, that's a 3-star, and yeah, yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Do you prefer the theatrical cut, or do you prefer the Ultimate Edition of the film, which is the true edition, the true version of the film that should have come out in the theatres, but, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah. Oh, yes, I do have the steelbook of the film, by the way. I was meant to show you this at the beginning of the video, but I just completely forgot. But yeah, it's a steelbook. It's got a sleeve, but yeah, but a really nice steelbook. Obviously, you got the artwork there, and you've got the back of it, but I'm not going to go too much into it, but yeah. Those are the discs you get inside. You get the 4K, and then you got the 2 Blu-rays of the two versions. You get both the theatrical and the Ultimate Edition. So yeah, really nice steelbook. I was gonna say I was gonna link the steelbook in the description below, but they're sold out now, and they've obviously been available for quite a while on HMV. But they've literally looked it up this morning, and they're sold out. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and let me know what you rate it. Let me know your positives, mixed, negatives, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. So I don't know what the next video will be, if it will be another Out of the Cinema review, or if it will be the next review for the DCEU, but we'll see. So yeah, whatever the video will be, I will see you then. Bye-bye.